In 1981, a young salesman named Howard Schultz walked into a small coffee shop in Seattle called Starbucks. At the time, Starbucks wasn't anything like what we know today. It didn't sell lattes, cappuccinos, or caramel macchiatos. In fact, you couldn't even buy a cup of coffee to drink. Starbucks only sold high-quality beans, teas, and brewing equipment. But Schultz saw something different, something that the original founders didn't see. He believed Starbucks could be much more than a store. It could be a third place between home and work, a community space where people gathered, connected, and shared stories over a perfect cup of coffee. In 1983, Schultz visited Milan, Italy. It was there that he had a moment of inspiration that would change everything. Italian cafes weren't just places to drink espresso. They were cultural hubs, full of energy, conversation, and connection. Schultz was captivated. He returned to Seattle with a vision to bring the Italian coffeehouse culture to America. But the original founders of Starbucks didn't agree. They didn't want to turn their business into a cafe chain. So Schultz made a bold move. He left the company and started his own coffee shop, Il Giornale, in 1985. It was a success. So much so that in 1987, he raised enough money to buy Starbucks for $3.8 million. That's when the real story began. Howard Schultz didn't just want to sell coffee, he wanted to sell an experience. Starbucks became the pioneer of a new kind of business model, experiential retail, where the atmosphere, design, music, smell, and barista customer interaction were just as important as the product itself. He invested heavily in store aesthetics and employee training. He refused to franchise. Every Starbucks store had to reflect the brand's identity and values. He called employees partners and offered them stock options and healthcare, even for part-time workers. This wasn't just good ethics, it was good business. A happier team meant a stronger brand, and it worked. By the mid-1990s, Starbucks was opening a new store every workday. It entered airports, college campuses, office buildings, even grocery stores. Coffee became cool, and suddenly walking into a Starbucks wasn't just about caffeine, it was a lifestyle. What many people don't realize is that Starbucks is not just a coffee company, it's also a real estate company, strategically choosing store locations to drive foot traffic and neighborhood development. A bank-like institution, with its app acting like a digital wallet. In fact, Starbucks holds more consumer cash on its cards and app than some banks do. A tech innovator, pioneering mobile ordering, AI-driven suggestions, and loyalty programs long before they became mainstream. The Starbucks app alone has over 30 million users, and it generated over $1.6 billion in prepaid balances. That means Starbucks is essentially borrowing billions of dollars from its customers, interest-free. And then came the Reserve Roasteries, massive immersive locations where customers can experience the coffee-making process like never before. These aren't just cafes, they're coffee theme parks. You watch beans being roasted, explore rare blends, sip espresso flights, and attend workshops. This isn't just business, it's coffee as theatre. But the journey hasn't always been smooth. In 2008, as the global recession hit, Starbucks was struggling. The brand had become too big, too fast. Schultz returned as CEO to save the company. He closed hundreds of underperforming stores, retrained baristas, and refocused the brand's core identity. He wrote in his book Onward that it was never about being the biggest, it was about being the best. Under his leadership, Starbucks rebounded and grew even stronger. It expanded into China, became a leader in sustainability efforts, committed to racial and gender equality, and launched new ventures into music, mobile technology, and even food innovation. Howard Schultz stepped down again in 2017, but his influence remains deeply woven into the Starbucks DNA. His journey, from growing up in a Brooklyn housing project to becoming a billionaire CEO, is one of the most powerful entrepreneurial stories of our time. And Starbucks today? Over 35,000 stores in 80-plus countries. Over $35 billion in annual revenue. A brand so recognizable that you don't even need to see the name. Just the green siren logo is enough. But the story isn't over. Starbucks continues to evolve. The future lies in digital integration, AI personalization, sustainability, and possibly even the metaverse. They're testing blockchain-based reward systems and expanding their influence far beyond the cup.